New modelling today by AMP economist Diana Mousina shows Labor's 30% tax, unindexed tax on super shows at least half of Generation Z will be impacted in the future. Joining me live now is AMP Deputy Chief Economist Diana Mousina. Diana, thanks so much for your time. You've looked at this, and this is something that Labor is going to refocus on now that they have this mandate in the Parliament. So what is the effect? Because we keep on hearing that it only affects a tiny amount of Australians, but you've got modelling that actually points out that that's not true.
Yeah, so basically at the moment, the Labor government has said this policy will only hit about 80,000 household or people, I should say, or 0.5% of our population. But if the threshold, the $3 million threshold proposed by Labor is not indexed, then obviously through time, in 40 years' time, an average 22-year-old income earner, on my analysis, will hit the cap before they get to retirement. And a lot of people have critiqued my analysis, saying that it sort of seems crazy that, a 22-year-old would even hit the $3 million cap. But I think what people are forgetting is that average super returns have been about 9% in Australia in the last 30 to 40 years. And I'm using assumptions closer to 6%. And people often forget the impact of compound interest and inflation over time. My estimates were actually, I think, understating the amount of people that will hit the cap, because I used quite low return assumptions, and also I used average earnings. But there are a lot of households whose earnings will go up over time, therefore contributing more to their super. Of course, people take time out of the workforce and don't contribute to super, but on average, I would say that my estimates are actually understating. So I'm saying that the average taxpayer will hit the threshold in 30 or 40 years' time. So yeah. It basically, we just need to see the government index the threshold, which they're not saying that they will at the moment.
Okay, so that's a really important point to make, because the claim is made time and time again that it only affects a tiny amount of people, and this is not something that young people really focus their mind to, retirement and how much they have in their super, but this is something that we definitely need to do so in this Parliament. So Diana, I also want to talk to you more broadly about when there are significant tax changes like this, whether it be elsewhere in the tax system or super, it usually changes the behaviour of people downstream of where they put their money. Is that also something that you've factored in?
Not in this analysis directly. It was just meant to be more of a direct comparison as to how many people are going to hit the cap. But what we know is that taxes create inefficiencies in the system, and people will try and find a way around the taxes. So if people know that their super is going to be hit, then inheritances will go elsewhere. More people will probably go to purchase a home, which has implications for home price in the future. So people will find a way around the system to try and reduce their taxable income as much as possible, and we see that time and time again.
Yeah, OK, so let's just go through specifically to the modelling that you put forward then. Jim Chalmers during the campaign said time and time again only 0.5% of people. How long until the average 22-year-old today hits that threshold?
So an average 22-year-old today who's earning average full-time earnings will hit the cap when they get to about 62 years old, on my analysis. So that's before they actually reach retirement. This note that I published went into the Financial Review, and they contacted the Greens. And the Greens actually have a lower threshold of $2 million, but the Greens have said that they will index that threshold. So if the Greens $2 million threshold is indexed, then the average income earner won't actually hit that threshold by the time they get to retirement. But we haven't heard anything from the Labor Party so far.
Right. So on the face of things, could the Greens policy actually be a better outcome because it's indexed?
Well, as it stands right now, for a Gen Z 22-year-old person, the $2 million threshold that's indexed over time is actually a better policy. But, for someone who has a super balance right now of $2 million, obviously it's not a great policy for them because they have to pay a high rate of tax. So, again, it depends what age you are and how much you've got in your super at this current point in time and then into the future. But it's just worthwhile to do the numbers yourself and think about how much actually are you going to have in your super. 40 years' time down the track seems like a long time away. but do the calculations.
Yeah, that's right. And Diana, thanks so much for doing your own calculations for all of us, because I think it will spur a lot of people on to do the same, because this is going to be one of the first orders of business for this parliament, I think. Diana, thanks so much for your time.